What's up, y'all? It's Ty. In this video, we're going to be going over ranking the auctionable or sellable or grindable diamonds right now in NBA 2K25 MyTEAM. So what we're not going to be including are like the hidden gem cards, because the hidden gems, they're so random. There's so many of them, so I can't really include them on this list. I wanted to do all the diamonds, but definitely couldn't. So only like the diamonds that are attainable, not via the hidden gem section. Let's get into it. Tim Duncan to start things off. Tim Duncan's my current center. He's been my center ever since I basically grinded for the card. Is he worth grinding for? I don't know. It's a tough question. I don't think at this stage he's probably worth it. Although I do think Tim Duncan is really solid in the game. Plays really solid defense, can knock down the mid-range jumper with the best of them. And with his 48 3-ball, if you have a coach that does boost it as well, can knock down the occasional 3-ball. So for me, with Tim Duncan, I actually like the card. He's, I've used some other centers. I haven't had as much success with those other centers as I have with Tim Duncan. So it's tough for me not to gas this card just because, again, he has been so good for me over the course of my time using him. I'll put him at C tier for... No, I'm going to actually move Tim Duncan to B tier because I like him. Tony Parker, probably going to be one of the worst cards in this list. F tier. Is he usable? I don't even know if he's usable. F tier. Michael Adams is more usable than Tony Parker, and that's crazy to say because Michael Adams stinks. He's D tier. He's not good. Wilt Chamberlain, going to be one of the best diamonds on this list. Is he S tier? As I'm looking through here, it's tough. I'm going to put Wilt at S tier just because I think interior bigs, he's probably, one of the best. I don't necessarily love using inside bigs, but if you're one you can use inside bigs and you can have success with inside bigs, it's tough not to put Wilt Chamberlain at S tier. Russell Westbrook, it's tough to not put him at S tier too. One of your best point guards in the game. It is crazy to look back on the full throttle set and realize how good those cards are. ML card, Raja Bell, Russell Westbrook, Wilt Chamberlain, LeBron James. Like, from top to bottom, that set was too good for its time. There's no reason day one we should have got the full throttle drop. Like, nobody realized how good that drop was when we got it. Those cards are all still absolutely elite still to this day. Carlos Boozer in the full throttle drop isn't quite that level. I'm going to go C tier. He's not totally worthless. His release is really good. It just comes down to he's a little slow, and I just don't trust the card defense. It's what it comes down to with Carlos Boozer in the game. Scott Skiles, not great. I'm going to go D tier. I know he's got 8 Hall of Fame badges. I know the card can do some things on the court. But when I'm talking about the best diamonds in the game, I never once think to myself, wow, Scott Skiles should be up there. Never. He's fine. D tier, though. Cliff, I'll go Chauncey Billups because I like Chauncey. I'm going to put Chauncey Billups at B tier. When I talk about some of the better point guards in the game, is he that elite level? No, but he's right that tier right below. Not necessarily the elite of the elite, not Russell Westbrook, not going to be some of the other point guards that I'm thinking about, but he is solid. The one thing about Chauncey is his release is relatively slow, so you got to know how to shoot with Chauncey Billups. Cliff Robinson, I think he's better than Carlos Boozer, but I think he's more on the Carlos Boozer level than the Tim Duncan level. Maybe not. Maybe I'm going to. I used Cliff Robinson for a while. I just never really loved the card. He was fine for me. C tier is where I'm putting him. Jerome Kersey, I'm going to throw him at C tier as well. The problem with Jerome Kersey is this. His release is, I don't want to say unusable, but it's not good, guys. That's the problem I see with the card. His release, just simply put, is not great. It's not ideal. And so when I'm talking about some of the better cards in the game, it's tough for me to really, hype him up that high. When I use the card, it's just like, man, that release is borderline unusable. Şengün up next. I think he is more the Tim Duncan level than like the Carlos Boozer, Cliff Robinson level. The problem with Şengün is this, his defense. Offensively, he's great. He's a stretch big. He's got a decent release. Şengün is B tier. Ricky Pierce, can't honestly say I've never used the card. I think he's fine, though. I think he's usable. I'm going to throw him at C tier because I don't love him, right? That's basically what my C tier is. Usable cards that I don't necessarily love. Raja Bell is a card I love. Is he A tier? I think so. I think A tier is the perfect spot for Raja Bell. There was a time in season 1 where he was S tier. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But as times went on, there's been better and better guys coming out. I think A tier is the right spot for Raja Bell. Duckworth, F tier. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. The problem with Duckworth is he's in the game. Like, you get a full throttle deluxe pack. Nice. That's cool. But the problem is Kevin Duckworth is probably going to come out of there. So that kind of stinks for everybody that, does grind, let's say, like, the breakout mode. Oh, you get a free full throttle pack. One of the main reasons I don't take the full throttle pack and just take MT instead is because of Kevin Duckworth. ML Carr, Here's where things get tough. I think he's really good. I just don't think he's as good as Raja Bell. I'm going to throw him at B tier. I really do like ML Carr. You could throw him at A tier, but I do think Raja Bell is just slightly better. Kiki, B tier. I mean, again, another card that I just think Raja Bell is better. You guys can tell me if you really like Kiki down below in the comments, but I think defensively leaves something to be desired. Glenn Rice, I'm going to go B tier as well. If you're noticing a trend, if a card is not good defensively, they're probably going to be at B tier. It's the way it is. Kyle Corver, I am going to throw at A tier, though. I am. I have to. With his release, you've got to throw him at A tier. You don't even have a choice. Like, I wish I had a choice to not put him in A tier, but I don't have a choice. When I play against Kyle Corver, he can cook me, especially on the way unlimited or showdown difficulty is, or any game mode you play really on this game. It's going to be an easy difficulty, which is just so overpowered for a guy like Kyle Corver in this game. Paul Pierce up next. Card's not great. I'm going to throw him at D tier. Honestly, stat badge-wise, Pierce isn't bad. His animations leave a lot to be desired. Draymond Green, it's a tough one. I think A tier is the right spot, though. The thing about Draymond is this. His defense is going to be fantastic, but he's undersized and his release isn't great. And so you kind of got to take the law of averages here, and that's why I think Draymond is A tier. He does more good than bad, but he is undersized. His release is not great. Brandon Roy, I'm actually going to throw Brandon Roy at A tier. I personally have never used Brandon Roy, but I know there's a lot of people who have used him and a lot of people that like Brandon Roy. So he's got to go at A tier. Has to. Monta Ellis up next. B tier, right in there with the Chauncey Billups to the point guard position. Not elite, but he's a solid point guard that can at least play some defense, knock down some shots, do some things. Jeff Ruland. I have a love-hate relationship with this card. This card does not play as good as he should. If you look at Jeff Ruland, his stats are good. His badges are good. But the card does not play as good as he should. So I'm going to throw him at C tier. He should be better than he ultimately is. Anthony Parker. C tier, I think, is the right spot for Anthony Parker. I know some people might really like the card. He might be B tier. I'm gonna go B tier. Some people really like Anthony Parker, so I will go B tier. I just don't necessarily love the card. Derek Coleman, I'm gonna go A tier. Look, I know Derek Coleman's release isn't great. I know the card got way overhyped when he first came out, but the card still is A tier. There's no really questioning it. With his stats, with his badges, he has to go at that A tier. Grant Hill up next, an absolute beast of a card. I think he's got to go S tier with what he does defensively, offensively being solid as well. I think we've got to talk about Grant Hill as being an S tier caliber player in my team. Ronnie Cycli, as this card has been used for me, he only gets better and better. And I might move Tim Duncan up too. I'm going to. Both those cards, in my opinion, are A tier. A lot of people tell me, Ty, you need to upgrade your center position. And when I have Cycli and Tim Duncan on the court, my question would be why? I feel like my centers are fine. Sure, there's times Tim Duncan can't shoot the ball for me. That hurts. But Cycli is a beast. He's got a great player build. He is so good, and I'm so glad I got the free card in Triple Threat Park. Latrell Sprewell, I'm going to go B tier. I don't love the card. He's fine, but I don't love the card. Kenny Anderson, C tier. Not the worst point guard. There definitely are worse point guards, but he's not as good as Chauncey. Certainly not as good as Monta Ellis. Pretty simple, pretty easy. Next up, CP3. This card's immaculate. This card is absolutely elite. He's A tier, though. He's not as good as Russell Westbrook. I don't know, though. I want to put him at S tier. I'm going to put him at S tier. I'm going to put Chris Paul at S tier because of this simplicity. When you look at complete point guards in the game, I don't know if there's any more complete point guards than Chris Paul. He is such a good point guard in this game. S tier for Chris Paul. D12 and inside center. I'm gonna I don't know. I'm gonna throw him at, I don't like this. I don't like ranking Dwight. I'm gonna throw him at B tier. Because the thing about Tim Duncan is this. He's gonna shoot the ball better than Dwight. He, in my opinion, does more things better than Dwight. Dwight's gonna be a better inside big. I guess I gotta go A tier. I don't love Dwight, but I do think he is A tier. Chet, S tier. Chet's got to go S tier. He's the best stretch, one of the best stretches in the game. I would say the best. Miles Turner did come out the other day, who obviously changes some things, but Chet is absolutely a beast. S tier. Next up, Isaiah Thomas. I mean, I'll go C tier. I don't love Zeke at all. Kyle Kuzma, I think, is so overrated on this game. I'll throw him at B tier. I do think he belongs there, but I just want to tell you guys, I think Kuz is overrated. So if you really like Kuzma, I'm sorry, but I don't see it with the card. Desmond Mason up next. Another card that I'm like, I think is really good, but as times went on, it's just like we've got better and better shooting guards. So I'm going to put Desmond Mason at B tier. I've never actually got the card, but his stats badges look good. Bradley Beal, I think, is actually really solid on this game. I think he's underrated. B tier for Mr. Bradley Beal. DeMar DeRozan, I don't like him. And it's some of these things is preference, like Bradley Beal compared to a guy like DeMar DeRozan. I think a lot of it is preference. I really do. But to me, I do like Bradley Beal just slightly more. Purvis Short up next. I don't mind Purvis Short. And when you're talking about the small forwards in this game, is he A tier? I think he's better than Glenn Rice. I think he's better than Clique. And so that's kind of the tough part for me is I don't necessarily love Purvis Short, but I think he does enough to probably be A tier. Andre Kirilenko up next. AK's got to be S tier. He's got to be. I mean, there's just no other ifs, ands, or buts about it. AK, S tier small forward. He's one of the better 3-and-D guys in the entire game. Look at 3-and-D guys in the game. Tell me somebody better than Andre Kirilenko. I don't think you'll be able to. You will, but not many people better than him. Al Harrington, A tier or S tier? Some people are going to argue S tier for Al Harrington. He's like the perfect power forward. He's going to knock down shots. I just don't know. If I put him at S tier, we might be going down a slippery slope, but I'm going to for now because I really like the card. Victor Oladipo, S tier as well. I mean, one of the better point guards in the game. Perfect 3-and-D guy to add to your squad. One thing I don't love about Victor Oladipo is his interior defense. Wish that was slightly higher. Jason Richardson up next, shooting guard position. I'm going to go S tier. I just don't see many diamond shooting guards being better than Jason Richardson. I'm going to go S tier. We might have a lot of players at S tier, but I like a lot of diamonds in this game. DeAndre Jordan, B tier. I like Dwight more than DeAndre Jordan. And I'm sorry, DJ, but I don't love you as far as an overall card. B tier. Kenyon Martin, A tier. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Throw him right in there with Derek Coleman. I'm moving Al Harrington down. I can't have him at the same tier as AK. AK is he's way better, especially on defense, than a guy like Al Harrington. Next up, Jalen Green. I see what people see in Jalen Green, but I'm only going to go A tier. I don't think he's S tier. I know what people see in Jalen Green. He's a solid Jalen Green card, and it's crazy because normally when Jalen Green comes out, he's not good. This year he is good, but he's A tier level of good. Sean Kemp, this card reeks. C tier. I do not like Sean Kemp. I think this card is despicable in this game, and normally Sean Kemp's good at the start of years. This Sean Kemp's not. Donovan Mitchell, he's solid. He's solid. That's about all I can say about him. I'm going to go B tier, though. Like, stat-wise, he should be way better. He's only... I know his player build's good, but he's only, what, 6'1"? It's just tough for me to really hype him up as much as I want to. Willis Reed, S tier. Maybe the best diamond center in the game. I talked about Chet being the best stretch in the game. He's not when Willis Reed is available. He's just not. Willis Reed is an absolute beast in this game. Paul Westphal, card stinks. C tier. I mean... this card is not good. He's better. He is better than Pistol Pete Maravich, though. So if you guys are like, Paul Westphal's not horrible. No, he's not horrible. C-tier cards aren't horrible, but he's not good. Sidney Wicks is good as long as you can green shots with him. Because of the low 3-ball, though, I'm going to probably go B tier. But the thing about it is he plays really good defense. I'm going to move him at A tier. You've got to be able to really shoot with Sidney Wicks if you use him. I'm going to go A tier, though, because he can knock down shots. Jack Marin, Chicken Man Jack in my team. It's tough for me to go A tier. No, it's not. It's not tough for me to go S tier. It's not. I mean, this card is really good. He is a card that I've used a decent amount of. And he is Chicken Man in my team. Jack Marin, an absolute beast. Pete Maravich, D tier. It's just so sad where we're at in my team, where I've got to put Pistol Pete. It's sad because throughout 2K history, Pistol Pete Maravich has always been one of the best point guards in the game. Always, especially at the start. He's always had a great release. He's always been a guy you can count on in my team. This year, it's not the same. Pistol Pete Maravich is not good. D tier. MPJ Michael Porter Jr., people gas him. He's fine. He is a A-tier caliber card, but people gas Michael Porter Jr. way more than they should. Realistically, he is an A-tier caliber card. Julius Randle, man, we're not going to talk about your opening night because it was rough to say the least. B-tier for Randle, he's fine. He can play and compete on the court. He isn't great, though. Trae Young, way undersized. I'm going to go D tier. I really don't love Trae Young. And I know, like, a lot of people might, like Trae Young. Well, Ty, he can create. Ty, he can get. I don't care. Card is not going to play any sort of defense. D tier. Tyrese Maxey stinks too. D tier. Every time I play against Tyrese Maxey, I am personally licking my chops. I am, because I know this. I know what he is. I know he's not great. I know, people, use him because he's in diamond. He's in 93 overall. The card stinks. Karl Anthony Towns, interesting diamond. Really interesting card. He is going to stretch the court. I don't necessarily love his release this year. I'm going to put him at B tier. I know some people really like Cat. They've got to make his release better, in my opinion. Like, I cannot consistently green with Cat, and he's got such a high 3-ball with great shooting badges. It's just a weird situation. If you can green with Cat, maybe A tier. I just struggle right now. Worthy up next. Worthy's fine. In my opinion, if you get James Worthy, you should play the card. And so I'm going to put him at A tier. Free card bias, I don't care. I'm going to put him at A tier because if you get James Worthy, you absolutely should be playing the card. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, he's good. KCP is really, really good. I'm going to go all the way up to A tier. He's like the perfect 3-and-D option. If you want to go S tier with KCP, I'm not even going to argue it because like I said, he is a perfect 3-and-D option that you guys can use and play on your specific squad. I'm going to go S tier with him. Honestly, I don't care. He's free. If you grind domination, get a really good card. Buddy Hield, I don't know, man. I don't know. He's going to shoot the ball well. I don't know, though. I'm going to go C tier for Buddy Hield. I don't like the card whatsoever. Banchero needs to be in a tier of his own. He is by far and away the best card at the diamond tier. It's not even comparable, not even close. His player build's fantastic. He's going to play great defense. He's going to knock down shots. Banchero is easily S tier. Jamal McClure. The more I look at this card, the more I actually don't mind him. Now, I will say for Jamal McClure, his 3-ball scares me. But his badges are good, his stats are good, and the more I look at the card, he's affordable. Jamal McClure can play a little bit of ball. Kyle Lowry up next. He's no CP3, but he is an A-tier point guard. A little undersized, I get he's 6 feet tall. Not Chris Paul level, but he can play some ball. Don't sleep on Kyle Lowry. He is a wide player build as well. Don't forget that. Next up, guys, Tim Hardaway. Tim Hardaway is an interesting card for a couple of reasons. Number one, he's got the best jump shot in the game. So he's kind of a cheese ball. But on the same train of thought, yes, he has the best jump shot in the game, but what are his stats like? What are his badges like? And to me, that's the big red flag for Tim Hardaway. It's not that the card can't play, can't play offense. He can, but his stats, badges, and defensively, Tim Hardaway is going to be a liability. Manu Ginobili. I mean, is he the worst 94 overall card in the entire game? I know Paul Pierce is in the game. Manu might be worse. Manu is F tier. And I should have known when Manu got released as far as, because Killzoy won the first King of the Court, and Manu Ginobili was the card he got. And with that Manu Ginobili, guys, he could not do anything. He is horrible in this game. F tier. Austin Reeves, really interesting card. He played really well last night, by the way. Austin Reeves, interesting card. I'm going to go A tier. Don't think he's quite S tier because of his defensive deficiencies, but he's going to offensively be fine. He is 6'5", which does help his cause. A tier, I think, is the right spot for Austin Reeves, but he's an interesting card. If you want to put him at S tier, honestly, you can debate other people. I'm not going to argue that. I don't think he's S tier, but I'm not going to argue you guys on that. OG Anunoby. Is he as good as Andre Kirilenko? Probably not. But I still think he's S tier. Like, I still think he's good enough to put at S tier. If I'm going to put Purvis Short and Sidney Wicks at A tier, I think OG's better than those cards, so I'm going to put him at S tier. Definitely isn't super overpriced right now either. S tier for OG Anunoby. Scotty Barnes, I think, is a step below. And hear me out with it. If you find a fully badged Scotty, you could put him at A tier or at S tier because fully badged Scotty has great badges. His stats are good. He can play at an elite level. But you're going to have to fully badge him up if you want him to be there. And, it's just tough to do. So I'm going to go Scotty Barnes A tier. But I do like the card. Darius Garland. C tier. I do not like Darius Garland at all. And some people might be saying, Ty, you've got Tim Hardaway over Darius Garland. Yes, I do. Because Tim Hardaway's release is cheesy. And I know Darius has a good release. But I still think Tim's is cheesier. Let me know if you disagree in the comments. But that's where I'm at. Last but certainly not least, Miles Turner. When I first looked at Miles Turner's card, I'm like, you know what? He's good. I don't know about him. He's S tier, though. Is he as good as Willis Reed? I don't quite think so. But I think he's Chet level. Like, I do. I don't think he's as good as Willis Reed. But outside of Willis Reed, when you're talking about interior bigs in the game, I think Miles Turner is, like, next up. I really do. I really like the card. I really think the card does a lot for people on the court. This is my tier list right now. I don't think there's that many bad diamonds in the game. So, yes, when you're looking at D tier and when you're looking at F tier, you're probably like, Ty, there's not that many cards. You're right, because there's not that many bad diamonds. C tier are cards that you guys can use and have some success with. There's not a card at C tier that, when put on my team, I think would be an absolute liability, like a Trae Young, like a Paul Pierce. Like, I just don't. Now, B tier are and above are cards that I'd feel super comfortable using. So hopefully that helps you guys out. Again, S tier, A tier are cards that are the elite of the elite. That's going to wrap it up for our video. Let me know your thoughts on my tier list down below in the comments. Who is I too high on? Who is I too low on? And ultimately, is there anybody I forgot on the list that you guys would have included? Because again, so many cards on this list, there's probably somebody that I left off. So let me know your favorite diamond down below in the comments, guys. Drop a like on the video, subscribe if you're new, and as always, man, I love you guys. Have a blessed day.